Labels are not permanent. But here's the thing, every single one of us so easily lets labels stick to us, take root in our identity. So many of these labels were given to us by sometimes well-meaning people growing up. Sometimes they were hurtful labels that we heard once in our childhood and let stick to us, right? Sometimes they're labels we gave ourselves. But labels, whether they're things like empowering ones, right? Like smart, kind, generous, successful, chosen, celebrated, victorious, winner, right? Those things can be really empowering when we let them take root in our identity and we let them stick to us. But so often it's the disempowering labels that we let stick to us. Sometimes we're not even aware of it. Sometimes one stuck to us, we let it take root, we're not even aware, and we've been carrying it around our entire lives, right? Some of the disempowering labels, right? I've carried around so many my entire life until I became aware of them and aware of this question, which is, what have the labels you've let stick to you and take root in your identity already cost you in your life? What have they already cost you? And here's the beautiful part, y'all. Labels are not stuck on us with super glue. They're not bolted onto us. They are like Post-its. They are like Post-its with that light adhesive that you just literally peel off. They're totally removable. And when you learn to remove them, it changes everything. I have an entire chapter where I go so deep into an exercise on how to identify all the disempowering labels in your life and how to replace them with empowering ones, and what are the steps you take to remove them. But when it comes to in Worthy, by the way, a whole chapter in Worthy about the lie that labels are permanent. They are not permanent. Here's the thing, disempowering labels, those are the ones that so often we let take root, right? It's one thing if you let's say you put something out there, no one likes it, it gets rejected, it fails, whatever it might be. That can shake your confidence. But when you let it take root to the point where you put a label on yourself and you think, I am rejected, I am a failure, that's when those labels, right? I'm a loser. Nothing good ever happens to me. I'm unwanted. I'm rejected. That is when those labels take root and they start to impact your self-worth, and they just chip away at it slowly, slowly, slowly over time. And labels are really, really, really important to become aware of. And so just to ask you this question off the bat, when you think about some of the labels that maybe somebody said to you and you let it take root in your childhood. It could have been family. Like for so many years, a lot of my well-intended family who loves me, I would have these big ideas like, oh, I want to save the world, or can we end world hunger? I would talk about these big ideas. And they would say, you're crazy. You're crazy. Who do you think you are? Right? Or I'd have these big dreams and they would say like, things like that do not happen to people like us. So it could be these little just loving things people say, but we can let them take root on us, right? There's a whole chapter, by the way, in Worthy called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. You're the first ever you. But that is an example of a label, crazy. I had to remove that, right? And replace it with an empowering label. Oh, no, I'm not crazy. I'm just first, the first ever me, and you are the first ever you. And I have learned after obsessing over this on how to literally replace these disempowering labels with empowering ones. So, labels are very, very powerful. A good friend of mine, Ed Milet, who some of you know, he shared a story that was just so profound on how labels can help you, right? So when he was a little boy, he was getting teased a lot in school for being so skinny. The classmates would call him Eddie Spaghetti, and he was kind of struggling in class. He was dealing with some addiction issues in his household at home, and just lots that he was going through. And he remembers one day in the classroom, a man coming into the class and asking his teacher for who was the smartest ones, the smartest students in class, because they were going to bring the smartest ones to a special testing room to represent the whole class in that year's testing program. And the teacher said very loud so that Ed could hear, she said, Eddie Milet over here, he's my smartest one. He's the smartest one. And Ed just remembers his teacher knew he was going through a really, really hard time and struggling. And he just remembers thinking, I'm the smart one. I'm the smartest one. And to this day, he says he wasn't. He says he just believes his teacher did that to literally stick a label onto him. But he chose to let it take root that day. He chose to let it believe, oh, I'm not Eddie Spaghetti, who all my classmates are teaching, like they're teasing over and over. I'm the smartest one. I'm the smart, she sees me, right? I'm the smartest one. And he let that label take root. Fast forward today, his work is inspiring hundreds of millions of people every single day with his show, with his books, with all the stuff that he does. When we let these labels take root and we believe them, they are so powerful. And this can impact every area of your life. And so, I just want to ask you to take a few minutes. You could pause this video and just write down and just think about what are some of the disempowering labels that you've let stick to you. Because while they're easy to remove like Post-it notes, when they stick to you, they feel like lead balloons, like you're trying to fly and soar in your life, but you have these lead balloons attached to your wings. That is what disempowering labels can feel like. And just taking a moment to identify what those are. And you may even want to, next to them, write out what has believing that label cost you in the different areas of your life. And then next to it, you want to write out an empowering label that is absolutely true. A new empowering label that is absolutely true. An example of this in my life was, I was adopted and placed into adoption the day I was born. And I was raised by parents who just loved me. Like they loved me. And they worked so much. Like 7 days a week, very hard work, the hardest working people I know. And they taught me work ethic and they taught me how to work hard. But growing up, I always felt abandoned. I always felt like they chose work over me. I always felt alone often. And later in life, when I found out by complete surprise in my 20s, I was adopted, and just combined with a lot of other things, I realized I had taken on these labels like that stuck to me and really impacted a lot of decisions I was making in my life, because labels can take root in our identity. So I believed, like I had labels that had stuck on myself, labels like unwanted, rejected, abandoned, right? Like labels like that. And y'all, they came out in the kind of people I was attracted to when I dated. They came out in the kind of treatment I would let people mistreat me, or I didn't think I was worthy of more than that. I had these labels stuck to me. And in my life, I had to, first of all, become aware of what they are. And then second of all, go, okay, you know what? I don't accept that. I know in my soul, like in my mind where self-doubt lives, oh, it's easy for me to say I'm rejected, unwanted, abandoned. But in my soul, that's where our knowing, that's where our truth lives. I'm not any of those things. And through prayer and through really tuning into that knowing, that still small voice, right? And through doing this work, I've been able to replace these labels with new labels I know and just believe are true in every ounce of my being. And I've reframed them. So instead of feeling unwanted or rejected or abandoned as an identity, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My birth mom, she chose me. Like, first of all, big step back. My birth mom and dad were together one time ever. That's it. God chose me. Like, he chose me to come into this world. My birth mom did not have to carry me. Her life would have been a lot easier had she not. She chose to have me. And then my adopted parents chose to raise me. I am not unwanted or rejected or abandoned. I'm chosen. I'm chosen. So are you. And it's just replacing those labels has helped me really, literally raise the ceiling on my identity and self-worth. And that impacts every single area of your life. So labels are not permanent. That is a lie. That is a lie. And when we believe the disempowering ones, it starts to chip away at our self-worth. So I want to encourage you to do this exercise today. When you get your copy of Worthy, go deep into that chapter, because Worthy is packed with over 20 tools on how to build self-worth, but there's a whole section on all the lies that lead to self-doubt and the truths that wake up worthiness. And one of the lies is that labels are permanent, and they are not. They are not. So I'm excited for you to dive into this, and just want to let you know that I see you, I am you, I love you, I believe in you, and you are worthy.